G'day, it's Mark Jennings here from Business Book Southwest. I'm an occasional volunteer crew member on the sail training ship Lewin, which teaches people how to sail and takes the general public out to experience what it is like to sail and live on board a tall ship. Having just returned from a day and a half on the Lewin, I realized that the way the tall ship is run is much the same way as a business is run. The Lewin is a three-masted barquentine ship that is based on an 1850s design, but is modern in setup down below decks, where crew members all live and play. The ship is definitely not the Queen Mary, but it is a step up in comfort from the way that the old ships like the original Endeavour were made. So here's the business rationale behind the business of sailing. The old Boy Scout motto, "Be prepared," is very apt here. In my experiences on Lewin, we have had everything from the expected bad weather, to incidents with passengers, to hiccups with the sails, and other equipment. In one case we had, as crew, had to deal with a passenger who accidentally flushed his dentures down their heads, that is the toilet, while throwing up, and expected the engineer to get them out of the sewage pit for him. At all times, all crew must be prepared for whatever is thrown at them. The same applies in business. It only takes one thing to go unexpectedly right or wrong, and all the best planning in the world won't cover the situation at hand. Business plans, manuals, instructions, and the like would all cover some of the possible eventualities, but there is nothing other than being prepared for the totally unexpected. The line of management teamwork is important because on board a Lewin sail with the general public, the ranks are captain, mate or chief officer, engineer, bosun, chef, and volunteer crew. The volunteer crew have a watch leader or leaders appointed from within their ranks, so the other members of the volunteer crew are reportable to their watch leader, and they are reportable to the mate. The other ranks all have an offsider with them, and everyone is managed by the mate, who is ultimately reportable to the captain. All this in a crew that's a maximum of 20 people. The business analogy here is that everyone in an organization is ultimately reportable to everyone else in a team where we all work together. If the captain, leader, boss, or manager is not communicating with their lower level staff, and if there is no communication between the bottom and the top levels of the organization, then the organization will struggle to function effectively and really get nowhere fast in terms of achieving its goals. In the case of a Lewin crew, we wouldn't sail anywhere fast. Part of being a crew member on Lewin is talking to those who come on board, and others who see the ship at the port who are interested in the workings of the ship and what goes on while on board. This means that every member of the crew needs to be able to relate experiences of life on board and give a positive experience to all those they meet. This can only be done if the person actually believes in what they are talking about. In a business, there is often nothing worse than negative publicity. If one person does not believe 100% in what they are saying to the general public, it shows, and then the public face of the brand can be forever damaged. In industries such as tourism, this is particularly paramount, and as we know, people will speak up more about bad experiences than good, which can only be a bad thing for the business. In the sailing of the Leuin, we need to follow a certain pattern in terms of which sails we put up, when, and how, in order to actually make the most of the weather conditions and get where we want to get to. To some members of the public, it seems like madness, but there is a certain method in the madness so that the goal can be achieved. The business analogy here is that if we tried to put up the sails in a different order, we would eventually get to the goal, but it would be done in the least effective manner. If businesses or organizations try to do things in a way that cuts corners, it might get the result intended, but at what cost to the business and its people? One of the great things about being a volunteer crew member on Leuin is that everyone is generally happy, despite having to put up with small-sized beds and a living standard not to most people's likes. We all love what we do, and as volunteers, we would not do it if we didn't love it. The lesson here is that a great group of people in an organization or business that are happy in what they do will be productive and efficient in whatever they are asked to do. Life on board Leuin might seem rosy, but in tough conditions, it's a real challenge, just like in business. Each person involved needs to be at the top of their game to make the whole ship work, and that is the same in the business environment, be that sailing a tall ship or otherwise.